Hello, everyone. Welcome to Grand Cruise Astrology. My name is Clayton Cruz, and welcome to June and this collective reading we're going to do here today. It's been a little while since I've had the time to get a reading in, but this is a collective reading. And so, the good thing about this month is that it's relatively quiet and relatively quiet compared to April and May, especially April. April was, I haven't looked at each month by month, but doing just a broad bird's eye view, it looks like April may be the most chaotic month of the year. So we've come to the other side of that. Things cooled off a bit in May, astrologically. And, there's a lot of really good things to like about June. However, there is some changes happening as well. And this is nice, but this could represent a lot of the newness that's going to be with us for some time. It could be highlighting some things here. What I mean by that is to start the month, we see that Jupiter's at 1 degree of Gemini. Now, Jupiter went into Gemini. That was the last week of May, and it's still in very early Gemini. The start of June. It's still in early Gemini. It's a 1 degree. So this is what I like about this is that as soon as Jupiter goes into Gemini, it makes a really nice aspect to Pluto. Pluto is at the very early part of Aquarius. It's about 1 degree to start the month of Aquarius, and Pluto will track back to Capricorn later in the year, just for a little while, for a few months there, and then it'll move forward again, and it will be in the sign of Aquarius here forward for quite a while, over a decade. So, this Pluto in the sign of Aquarius represents a lot of power, energy, focus, and attention going into fixed air quality Aquarius. We have a lot of talk around technology right now, and we have a lot of talk around newness and future thinking and futuristic. What does the future hold? There's a lot of focus and intention and intensity around this conversation. That will continue. We're just getting started. And with Pluto, wherever it goes, it brings potential, but it also really digs under the rug and gets to the root of the conversation. And so not only are we going to be really taking a dive into this newness, into this futuristic thinking of possibility and what can bring us all together in a more harmonious and humanitarian way, but also the darker side of that. How can it completely annihilate us, right? Pluto, it really explores these questions because it is about integrity, it is about truth, and it really snuff out anything that's not fully within integrity and the light. So, that's what it does. It purges. So this process is getting started, and it'll be with us for a while. Now, the good thing about Jupiter coming into Gemini here at the end of May and early June is that, great. We really get to have some optimism around what Pluto can bring, what the possibilities are. It's almost like we can pontificate that a little bit and envision for ourselves the sweeter side of Pluto possibilities. And then also because, Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini, we can talk about it. We can discuss things. We can chitter chatter back and forth. We can explore all sides of every equation, right? So, that's Jupiter in Gemini. Now, Jupiter is going to be in Gemini for a little over a year. And Jupiter and Gemini is not the easiest place for Jupiter. Jupiter is a very expansive energy. It's a big gas giant, right? And Gemini is represented by the twins. It has a lot to do with parceling things up and understanding the this and the that and duality, and it likes to get into the details and the nooks and the crannies, and it likes it likes to have things scaled down a bit, right? And Jupiter's big expansion. So, this energy, can be really awesome for social events and communication and networking and really feeling involved socially. It's a great energy for that. The downside of this energy is getting overwhelmed with too much chitter chatter, too many phone calls, too many emails, too many texts, too much social media, just too much, right? Too much on the airwaves coming through your antenna. So that's the downside of Jupiter. What I like about early Jupiter, I'm sorry, what I like about Jupiter and early Gemini is I think right off the bat we're going to experience some of the sweeter qualities of this. Jupiter it's going to be a nice aspect, not only Pluto, but even Neptune, which is at 29 degrees of Pisces. The aspect is out of sign, but it's a nice little sextile there. And this will be, second half of May and beginning of June. This will kind of be in play, so that's nice. There, it's almost like Neptune is offering a little bit more hope in a more sort of universal global sense to this energy of Jupiter going into the sign of Gemini here. So there's a lot of it gets a bit gabby, and there's a lot of there's a lot to discuss and maybe be excited about and talk about here in the start of June. So enjoy that energy. It's there, and I say that, and we also have Venus. Venus right around the time that Jupiter went into Gemini, which was late May. So did Venus went into uh, Gemini in late May as well. So both Jupiter and Venus are in Gemini. Venus in Gemini is, it's very sweet. It's very social. It's not very deep. This isn't about like, the Venusian energy of, connecting on a deep level with the soulmate kind of thing, because Venus is the planet of relationships, but Venus in Gemini really is about connecting with many people and having many pleasant interactions, right? And just feeling ease and flow and ability to network and just have a little poise and charm, right? Accessing that Venus and Gemini energy, it's there, and Venus will be in Gemini until you get to mid June. So to start the month of June, you got Venus there. Jupiter's also there in that sign. So there's a lot here about just really betting on yourself as far as being social and engaging socially and speaking. Um, Obviously, this is going to depend on where Gemini is in your chart, your own personal chart, but collectively speaking, it's going to be a chatty time and it's going to be fun. There should be a lot of fun. There should be a lot to do, a lot of events to get into. So, and so we also have, once we get to June 4th, thereabouts, we're going to have Mercury, which is the planet of communication and perception, going into its home sign of Gemini as well. So, here, another indicator for that energy of connectedness, right? This Gemini, this isn't it's a very mental energy, right? With all these planets going into Gemini, there's a lot of intellect here. There's a lot of mental energy here. There's a lot of gaining varying perspectives here, and communicating those perspectives as we perceive them. But it's not a terribly deep energy, right? This isn't a very deep and this isn't a deep time of drudgery. It's not dour. This is very light-hearted energy. If I had to give an adjective to describe June, especially the early part, very very lightweight, very light-hearted. Take it easy. Have a sense of humor. Don't take things too seriously with this energy, because it just won't. You just won't get very far with that. At least for this month. So yeah. All right. So then we also got Mars, planet of action. It's in Aries to start the month. It's home sign, right? So a lot of physical drive and push forward, and so it's Aries is in harmony with Gemini, so that's fine. And then once we get to right around the 11th, 12th, Mars is going to go into the sign of Taurus, and it's going to get more, that our physical drive and energy may get more personal and more resource focused and oriented. Whereas in the sign of Aries, it's more about excitement and fun and passion and making things happen, starting new things, right? So now what I do want to mention, because I've spoken very highly and lovingly about what's happening in June, but there are some little itches here. We do have spoke about Venus. Venus. Let's see. Yeah, Venus will be the first planet to make square aspect to Saturn. That'll be right there at right around the 9th, 10th. And it'll be for a day or two there. So Venus making that square to Saturn from Gemini over to Pisces. This can be about our interactions, our communications, and balancing that with reality. Okay, balancing that with what needs to be done versus what we want to do. The people we want to connect with, the things we want to do, the things that we feel really speak to our hearts, right? Versus, okay, but these are the responsibilities, this is the duty I have in life. These are the circumstances that require my attention. Now, because it's, Saturn and Pisces, this can be, there can be maybe, for a couple days there, and this all depends on how it matches up with your personal chart, but, this can be an energy of, maybe having to put ourselves out a little bit to acknowledge a situation that is, kind of requiring, some unconditional attention, right? Like some unconditional love as opposed to maybe what we want to do or what we would choose or what we would prefer, right? There can be some rub here. There can be some tension around that, because it's a square. It's about finding creative solutions. It's not about necessarily compromise, one or the other, or this or that. It's more about finding a way to make it all work and finding a solution that's, comes out to work for everybody, right? That's how to manage the square there. Now that's going to be right around the 10th or 11th. Then a couple days later, right around the 13th or 14th, we're going to have Mercury going square to Saturn, and this energy is there. This energy can create a little bit of tension, or it can kind of be like a. I don't even want to call it a thorn in the side because that kind of has a negative connotation, but it can create the need for attention and the need for creative solution. But the thing about Mercury and Saturn is, Mercury is the one planet that does all right with Saturn. That's not completely opposed to Saturn, knows how to work with it. So having Mercury here square to Saturn, there can be some kind of situation or tension or rub from that square that is, really causing us to, out of necessity, to get creative about something. Now, this could be something as simple as like, dang it, how am I going to get my car to the shop, and then still get to work and then, get to that party later, like this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. This isn't like big, life changing, agitation here. This is sort of like day to day. How do I deal with what do I need to deal with? How do I get creative? But again, within the square, it's going to, it'll, the square puts the challenge, but there's a way through it, this isn't asking you to give up anything. It's asking you to get creative and find a way to make it happen, make it work, right? And there's a satisfaction that comes through that when you get to the other side of it. So that's coming in 13th or 14th with Mercury there. Then we have, let's see, we got the Sun. The Sun will hit that point. Wow. Okay. So the Sun is actually going to hit that point too around the 11th. So right around the same time, right around 10th, 11th. Yeah, right around the same time that Venus hits that square to Saturn. So, right. I mean, there's just a few days here. It looks like between like the 10th and 14th, there's some things that need to be worked out. It's all squares here from the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. So this can involve our direction. We're talking about the Sun, our spirit, our energy, our what we want to do, what our vision is, what we want to make happen. We got Venus, which rules over relationships and connections and networking and how we present ourselves and carry ourselves. And then we got Mercury, the planet of perception. It has to do with our mind, has to do with our day to day, has to do with our schedule, right? And so all these planets within about 4 days here are going to be going square to Saturn, and for that time period, just work with it. Just if you have little things that come up, a little annoying, persnickety things that come into your life situations, people, places, and things that you have to deal with at that time, just get creative about it. Understand that for these 4 days here, collectively speaking, it may get a little annoying, but that's about it. This isn't end of the world stuff. This is it's going to pass pretty quick, and then we just deal with it. That's that. Then it moves on. So that's pretty much the first half of the month, and then we get later into the month. Now, later in the month, we do have some sign changes. Again, I talked about Mars going into the sign of Taurus, which is a fixed Earth sign, and Mars is very fiery energy, so there can just be some energy around. It can be more localized, localized around like resources and things and what makes us comfortable and what we want to do. It's less of a daring energy than Mars and Aries, but Mars and Taurus can be very indulgent and fun, and so enjoy that energy there. Mercury, second half of June, is going to go into the sign of Cancer, and unlike Mercury in Gemini, which is very intellectual and very quick, very witty, um, you know, very mental. Mercury in the sign of Cancer is, it's getting more, having a better understanding on a mental and psychological level of what we're actually feeling. Maybe putting words to what we're feeling, right? Um, and with Venus also, once we get toward, I guess this will be right around the 20th. Once Venus goes into Cancer, then we have a little bit more of that aesthetic quality to the sign of Cancer as well, that kind of aids Mercury in that expression of emotion, right? Because Cancer is the sign of emotion. It's the sign of the moon. This is our emotional body here. We have Mercury and Venus going in here. We can get more in touch with it, not only on an intellectual level, but also on an aesthetic level and on the level of, um, you know, appeal and what makes us comfortable, right? So, um, I forgot to mention the moon. Right there, also at the beginning of the month, we have a new moon at 6 degrees of Gemini. So everything I said about the start of the month with Gemini and Venus, Mercury, obviously the sun's already in there, and then Jupiter. Well, the new moon is going to be at 6 degrees of Gemini as well, and it'll be right there with Venus. Um, it'll be there with Mercury. I mean, it'll be there with Jupiter. I mean, it just adds another piece to that Geminian energy to start the month. It's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be electric as far as Gemini's an air sign, right? So I think there's gonna be a lot of messaging happening one way or another. Um, okay, so and then once we get to the latter part of the month on the 22nd, we've got a full moon at 1 degree of Capricorn. So what I kind of see here is with this full moon, because it is going to be square to Neptune. Now, Neptune's going to be at 29 degrees of Pisces all month, which in itself is interesting because we've had Neptune, oh gosh, what has it been since 2010 in the sign of Neptune. I'm sorry, in the sign of Pisces. We've had Neptune in Pisces. And Neptune in Pisces has been very much about universal love, dissolving of boundaries. Pisces is, pretty much as close as we get to the sign of as if Neptune had a sign, it would be Pisces, right? That's about as close as we get, right? Neptune is all about, universal love, dissolving of boundaries, all is one. It has a lot of compassion and empathy, especially for those less fortunate, right? So with Neptune here at 29 degrees, we're kind of seeing the final culmination of everything that Neptune has been working with in the sign of Pisces. And all of it's sort of like hitting that pinnacle of that Neptunian energy in the sign of Pisces at 29 degrees. So it's like we're kind of hitting the road for what Neptune can do in the sign of Pisces. Let's put it that way. All right, and then once we get to that full moon, that's going to be square that 29 degrees of Neptune in Pisces. That kind of speaks to me about obviously the full moon is the sun and moon opposition, and so when you have a full moon, you're looking at a culmination of what started at the new moon. So whatever we started around the 8th of the month, I'm sorry, the 6th of the month of June. Once we get to the 22nd, there's some kind of culmination, there's some kind of realization, fruition, right? And because it's 1 degree of an earth sign of Capricorn, there may be something tangible to go with this. There may be some actual, tangible things that we can look at and say, ah, wow, this is what this month has created. Look at this, right? But with it going square to Neptune in Pisces, there may be something about this that is not fully in congruence with collective ideals, perhaps, or it may just be that it may not be in line with collective values or collective norms in relation to what is just, what is compassionate, what is accounting for all, right? Talking about Neptune. Now this could be something we do on a personal level in relation to collective, or this could be just a feeling that we have, or a feeling like, okay, this is interesting, and I see it in its full light of expression, but now that it's here, some kind of creative adjustment needs to be made because it's not quite fitting right. It doesn't quite fit into the equation. Now, the good news is with this aspect is that it's the square is happening in two signs that are compatible. So this is, of the squares that I've mentioned this month, this is probably going to be the easiest one to work with, and it's probably going to be the most short-lived. So, but the full moon will be interesting. There'll probably be it could be that there's just this heightened sense of Neptunian energy about. There may be a heightened sense of the needs of others. We may be more empathetic, compassionate. We may be feeling into our environment a little more, and that can really put a spotlight on that which we've created on a personal level that is being revealed in that full moon, right? And so Again, squares, adjustments. It, it shouldn't be too big of a deal there. That should be fine. Um, okay, and then that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much where I'm going to leave it for this month. Um, it's it's not uneventful. I mean, in fact, I think there's going to be a lot of itty bitty little kind of things going on, and it's going to be very exciting. And I think it's going to start off really fast and quaint, and then I think toward the end it's going to get a little more. It's going to get a little more touchy feely, and we're going to be have a heightened level of sensitivity once we get toward the end of the month. But overall, I see this as I see this as a potential to have a good time and to really take ourselves out of the fight or flight for just a second. Have a little sense of humor, especially the first half of this month. And then, maybe relax a little more into the comfort of summer in the second half of the month. So that's where I'll leave it. Hope this was helpful, and I will see you on the next video. Goodbye.